He raised his hand and struck her across the face in front of his friends, laughing as she stumbled backward, mocking the woman he once vowed to protect. But what none of them knew was that beneath her gentle smile lived a warrior who could end them all with a single breath. Before we dive into this incredible story, please subscribe to my channel and tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I love hearing from you all around the world, and your support means everything. Her name was Mei Lin, and for 3 years she had endured the slow transformation of the man she married from a loving husband into a cruel stranger who found pleasure in her pain. It started small, as these things always do. A dismissive comment here, a raised voice there, the gradual erosion of respect that happens so slowly you don't notice until you're drowning in it. But Mei Lin never fought back, never raised her voice, never showed the fire that burned beneath her calm exterior, because she had made a promise to her dying grandmother, the woman who raised her in the hidden mountains of Wudong, where she trained from the age of 5 in the ancient arts of Kungfu under masters who could break stone with their fingertips and move like shadows through bamboo forests. Her grandmother's final words echoed in her mind every day. "True strength is knowing when not to use your power, my child. The greatest warrior is the one who never has to fight." So Mei Lin buried her past, left the mountains, came to the city, became an ordinary woman, married Chen Wei, a successful businessman whose charm masked a darkness she didn't see until it was too late. Chen Wei had everything: money, status, a circle of wealthy friends who worshipped him like a king. But success had poisoned him, turned him into a man who measured his worth by how much he could dominate others, especially the woman he called his wife. His friends were no better, a pack of entitled wolves who treated women like possessions and loyalty like a transaction. They gathered at Chen Wei's penthouse every Friday night, drinking expensive whiskey, smoking cigars, playing cards, and trading stories of conquest and humiliation like currency. And Mei Lin was expected to serve them, to smile politely, to endure their leering eyes and crude jokes, to be invisible except when they needed their glasses refilled or their egos stroked. She moved through these gatherings like a ghost, her face serene, her movements graceful, while inside her heart screamed with the memory of who she really was: a master of the iron palm technique, a practitioner of the 8 drunken immortals style, a woman who once defeated 12 challengers in a single tournament without breaking a sweat. But tonight was different. Tonight, something shifted in the air like the moment before lightning strikes. Chen Wei had been drinking more than usual, his face flushed red with alcohol and arrogance, his voice growing louder with each hand of cards he lost. His friends, Marcus, the investment banker with dead eyes, Lu, the real estate mogul who bought buildings like other men bought shoes, Zhang, the tech entrepreneur who spoke in numbers and saw people as data points. They fed off his energy, their laughter growing sharper, more vicious. And then Zhang made a comment, something about how Chen Wei must keep his wife under tight control since she was so obedient, so submissive, so completely without spirit. The others laughed, and Chen Wei's face darkened with something ugly, something that needed to prove itself. He called Mei Lin over, his voice cutting through the room like a blade. She came, as she always did, her hands folded in front of her, her eyes lowered in the gesture of respect she had perfected over these 3 years of captivity disguised as marriage. But Chen Wei wasn't satisfied with her submission tonight. He needed to display his power, to show his friends that he was the master of his domain in every way that mattered. He told her to kneel, right there in front of everyone, to apologize for some imagined slight from earlier in the evening when she had supposedly given him a look of disapproval. The room went quiet, the kind of silence that precedes violence, and Mei Lin felt something crack inside her chest. Not fear, but the breaking of the chains she had wrapped around herself for so long. She didn't kneel. She stood there, looking at him now, really looking at him, seeing not the man she married but a pathetic child playing at being strong by crushing those weaker than himself. And in that moment of stillness, Chen Wei's fragile ego shattered. He rose from his chair, crossed the distance between them in 3 steps, and his hand connected with her face in a slap that echoed through the penthouse like a gunshot. The force of it turned her head to the side, and his friends erupted in nervous laughter, the kind that comes from witnessing something terrible and not knowing how else to react. Chen Wei grabbed her by the hair, pulling her face close to his, and said the words that would seal his fate. "You're nothing without me. You're weak, pathless, worthless. You should be grateful I even let you breathe the same air as men like us. That's when Mei Lin smiled. Not a sad smile, not a broken smile, but the smile of a tiger who has been playing with mice and has finally grown tired of the game. She spoke 3 words in a voice so calm it was terrifying. "Let me go." Chun Wei laughed in her face, his grip tightening in her hair, and his friends leaned forward in their chairs, eager for more entertainment, more degradation to spice up their boring, meaningless lives. But Mei Lin wasn't asking. She moved, and the world exploded into motion so fast that human eyes could barely track it. Her hand shot up, a technique called the serpent strikes the root, striking 3 precise pressure points on Chen Wei's wrist in less than a second. His hand went instantly numb, releasing her hair as if burned, and before he could even process what was happening, Mei Lin pivoted, her body flowing like water as she executed a low sweep that took his legs out from under him. Chun Wei, the man who thought himself invincible, crashed to the marble floor on his back, the air exploding from his lungs. His friends jumped to their feet, shock and confusion painted across their faces, and that's when they made their fatal mistake. They tried to help him. Marcus moved first, his banker's instincts telling him to restore order, to put this woman back in her place. He reached for Mei Lin's arm, and she let him grab it, used his own momentum against him, twisting into a throw that sent his body flying over her shoulder to crash into the glass coffee table, which shattered into 1,000 glittering pieces. Lu came next, bigger, heavier, thinking his size would make the difference, and Mei Lin met him with the crane's wing deflection, redirecting his charge so that his own force carried him face first into the wall with a sickening crunch. Zhang, the smartest of them, actually hesitated, his analytical mind trying to calculate what he was seeing, trying to reconcile the submissive housewife with the warrior goddess who now stood in the center of his friend's destroyed living room. But fear made him stupid, made him pull out his phone to call for help, and Mei Lin crossed the distance between them in a blur, her fingers striking the phone from his hand and then touching a point on his neck that made his entire body go rigid before collapsing like a puppet with cut strings. The whole thing took 15 seconds. 15 seconds to dismantle 4 men who thought themselves powerful. Chun Wei, still on the floor, stared up at his wife with eyes wide with disbelief and dawning terror, finally understanding that he had been sleeping next to a dragon and mistaking it for a kitten. Mei Lin looked down at him, and when she spoke, her voice carried the weight of mountains, the authority of masters, the sadness of wasted years. I could have killed you all 20 different ways. I could have broken your spines, stopped your hearts, shattered your bones into powder. But my grandmother taught me that true strength is mercy, that real power is choosing not to destroy when destruction would be easy. So I'm going to give you something you never gave me, a choice. She walked to the window, her back to them, her silhouette framed against the city lights below. You can call the police, tell them your wife attacked you, try to use your money and influence to ruin me, and I will disappear like smoke, and you will spend the rest of your lives wondering when I might return, wondering if that shadow in the parking garage is me, if that stranger on the street is me, if tonight is the night I decide mercy was a mistake. Or you can let me walk out of here, give me the divorce I should have demanded years ago, and never speak my name again. You can tell yourselves whatever story you need to tell to sleep at night, but you will leave me in peace, and I will grant you the same. Chun Wei found his voice, though it came out as a broken whisper. Who are you? And Mei Lin turned to face him one last time, and in that moment she allowed herself to be fully seen, to show the warrior she had hidden for so long. I am the granddaughter of Master Li Shun, the last guardian of the Wudong Iron Palm. I am the woman who won the Hidden Mountain Tournament 3 years in a row before I was 20 years old. I am someone who gave up everything I was to try to be what you wanted me to be, and I am done being small to make you feel big. I am Mei Lin, and you never knew me at all. She left the penthouse that night with nothing but the clothes on her back and the freedom she had forgotten existed. She didn't look back, didn't second guess, didn't mourn the 3 years she had lost because she knew that every experience, even the painful ones, shapes who we become. Chun Wei kept his word. Perhaps out of fear, perhaps out of shame, perhaps because some small part of him recognized the gift she had given him by not ending his life when she so easily could have. The divorce was quiet, quick, and generous. His lawyers never asked questions, and Mei Lin asked for nothing except her freedom. But the story doesn't end with her walking away, because the universe has a way of balancing scales, of ensuring that actions have consequences and choices ripple outward in ways we can't predict. Word spread quietly through certain circles, whispers in martial arts schools and training halls, stories of a master who had been hiding in plain sight, a legend who had given up her path for love and reclaimed it through strength. 3 months after that night, Mei Lin received a letter, hand-delivered to the small apartment she now rented in a quiet part of the city, far from the penthouse prison she had escaped. The letter was from Master Chun, the head of the Wudong Association, offering her a position as an instructor, a chance to pass on the knowledge her grandmother had given her, to train the next generation in the arts that had saved her life and her soul. She accepted, and within a year her school became famous, not for producing fighters but for producing people who understood that true martial arts is about discipline, respect, and the strength to choose peace when violence would be easier. Her students ranged from children learning focus and confidence to women escaping abusive situations who needed to remember their own power, to elderly people seeking balance and grace in their twilight years. Mei Lin taught them all the same lesson her grandmother had taught her: that power without wisdom is destruction, that strength without compassion is tyranny, and that the greatest victory is the one that doesn't require fighting at all. As for Chun Wei and his friends, their lives followed the trajectory of all people who mistake cruelty for strength. Marcus lost his job in a scandal involving embezzlement. Lu's real estate empire collapsed when the market shifted and his aggressive tactics finally caught up with him. Zhang's tech company imploded after he made one arrogant bet too many. And Chun Wei himself faded into obscurity, his reputation ruined not by Mei Lin's words but by his own actions, by the other people he had hurt over the years who finally found the courage to speak up once his aura of invincibility was shattered. He tried calling Mei Lin once, 2 years after that night, his voice on the phone carrying the weight of regret and confusion, asking if they could meet, if she could explain to him what had gone wrong. She listened to his message, this man who had once held her life in his hands and chosen to crush it, and she felt nothing but a distant sadness for who he could have been if he had chosen differently. She never called back, because some stories don't need closure. Some chapters are better left unfinished. Some people are lessons rather than destinations. 5 years after that night, on the anniversary of her grandmother's death, Mei Lin stood on the mountain where she had trained as a child, where the bamboo still whispered secrets to the wind and the stones still remembered the touch of Master's feet. She performed the kata her grandmother had taught her, the movements flowing like water and striking like thunder, and as she finished, she felt a peace she had never known before. Not the peace of avoidance, not the peace of hiding, but the peace of someone who has faced their darkest moment and emerged transformed. She had been broken and chosen to heal. She had been powerless and chosen to reclaim her strength. She had been mocked and dismissed and beaten down, and she had risen not with vengeance but with dignity, not with violence but with the unshakable knowledge that she was enough, had always been enough, would always be enough. And in that moment, standing on the mountain where her story began, Mei Lin understood the final lesson her grandmother had been trying to teach her all along. That true strength isn't about how hard you can hit or how many opponents you can defeat. It's about knowing who you are, refusing to be less than that for anyone, and having the courage to walk away from anyone who demands you diminish yourself for their comfort. She had been a warrior in hiding, a master pretending to be ordinary, a dragon disguised as a sparrow. But now she was simply Mei Lin, teacher, survivor, master, woman, and that was the most powerful thing she had ever been.